So, very quickly, overview about Canada. We are a country of 37 million people, a population not that great, not that big if you think of how big Canada is, but it's a population that has been growing, and a lot of it comes through immigration, through actually international students that come here and then eventually immigrate and settle in Canada. So, population still growing, the 10th largest economy in the world. Canada is very wealthy country, and according to 2018 numbers, a GDP growth of 2%. So even though it's a very mature economy, it's still growing. So that's very important because that means that Canada needs people to work and participate into the economy. Very low unemployment rate. These are data from 2019, 5%, so very low in some cities, going down to 2 to 3%. And most of you are sure familiar with the main cities in Montreal, like Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, Ottawa, Calgary, Edmonton. But we still also have great options for studies outside of those big cities as well. Moving on to the next slide. These are some statistics that we gather from IRCC, which is Immigration, Refugee, and Citizenship Canada. Just wanted to show you very briefly how popular Canada is. As Tatiana was saying in the beginning, it is very true that the interest towards Canada has been consistently growing. So we had in 2012, close to 150,000 study permit applications. So it's basically a study visa, but in Canada we call it a study permit application. So people who want to come to Canada for study purposes. So we went from 144,000 in 2012 to more than 340,000 in 2018. 2019 numbers are not out yet, but they were close to 400,000. So you see a lot of people interested in coming to Canada. And why do people choose to come and study in Canada? Well, first of all, everyone is welcome in Canada. This is something you can see when you walk on the streets. Even in a big city like Toronto, people are very warm, very welcoming, very polite. That's a Canadian way of being, and it is true. You can, if you've been here, you will know. Canada is a very safe country. So a lot of you agents are working not only with the students, but also with the parents. The parents help to choose the destination. And obviously parents sending their kids across the ocean to a foreign country, they want to make sure that their kids are safe. And so Canada is very safe. Going from teenagers can come and study in Canada for language, for K-12, for instance, and college, university as well. It's a very safe country. Education in Canada is very affordable. So in the sense that obviously you have very good quality. That's item number three that I'm talking about here. Canada has excellent quality, but the education, the tuition fees are very affordable. They're very reasonable, especially when you compare with our friends from other English-speaking destinations. So that's a very important aspect as well. Here's some very quick pictures from Canada. Why I like to show them: yes, we have snow, we have winter, but at the same time, we have beautiful spring, summer, and autumn. We have a lot of activities to be done outside of school, outside of university and college. That's very important for the mental health of students. They have to engage in extracurricular activities. So why do students come to Canada? Why should you choose Canada when you're talking with a student? Just in this whole crisis that we're living right now, Canada has been showing that it really cares about international students. So you see the government announcements. Obviously, right now, international students can still travel to Canada if they have a valid study permit that was issued until March 18th. So although all travel to Canada has been banned, international students can still come. So they are part of the exemption list. The Canadian government has also changed the rules for what we call the PGWP, the Postgraduate Work Permit. This is a permit that students that went to college or university in Canada, they can stay in Canada with an open work visa. So that the conditions for those permits have been changed by the Canadian government because they want international students to stay here in Canada. And we know that this is all going to go over, and the economy will need international students, and they are welcome here. Another aspect to show how Canada cares about international students is that those students that are working on essential services, usually they could only work for 20 hours a week. The Canadian government has allowed them to work 40 hours a week. So to contribute to fighting the pandemic in the country, but also helping the international students to have financial means to still be here. Talking about financial means, international students were also eligible to get help from the Canadian government if they comply with certain criteria. Just as Canadian citizens, Canadian international students in Canada were also allowed to receive funds from the Canadian government if they lost their jobs. So these are just a few examples. Obviously, we don't have much time here, but just wanted to show you that once all of this is over, Canada will come out very strong. The Canadian government knows this and is still encouraging people to come and study here and to immigrate.
Again, and welcome to George Brown College. We are a public institution. We're established more than 50 years ago. And right now we account for more than 30,000 full-time students. Out of those students, more than 5,000 of students are international. And we are happy to say that we have the most diverse international student population in Canada. We have students from more than 120 countries, and no single country is accounted for more than 25% of our international student population. So it's a large mix of students from all over the world. We have more than 160 full-time programs, and I will speak briefly about those a little bit later. Just to give you a sense of Canadian education system for all the English-speaking provinces, what we have is colleges and universities. They represent two pillars of higher education. So college is not, in this case, a part of university. College is a higher education institution that provide applied education, as opposed or as compared, with the university, more academic pathways and more academic focus. We provide a 1-year certificate like basic trades. We have 2-year diplomas to start in the specific job or profession, 3-year advanced diplomas that might include co-practical training. And we also provide bachelor degrees, and those degrees will be specialized in specific areas. Also, we have postgraduate programs. Those are not master programs, but those are postgraduate studies usually requiring either previous work experience and university or college education. And they will be focused more on specific training to prepare you for a job and provide you with applied learning and provide you with a more specific work experience if the program includes. From most of the programs, like 98% of our programs would include practical component in depending on the length of the program, depending on the focus. It might be included in the program as a course. It might be a whole co-op semester where you have the practical training in the industry. All the programs are developed with the help of the industry. So we have the feedback from professional advisory committees, and they help us to shape the curriculum to make sure it meets the requirements of the industry and of the employers. We have simulated work environments pretty much in our classes. You can see a picture of our classes. Program. We work with industry partners. You see only like the kind of very famous logos here, but definitely we have more than 1,000 partners, like large and small businesses that we cooperate with. We, being downtown Toronto, it's very beneficial for us because this way you have access to the largest employer community in the whole country. As you can see, this is a map of downtown Toronto, and the majority of our campuses are right in the downtown area, which provides easy access to all the employers and having a possibility of part-time work and while students studying. And the George student residence, like it's also downtown Toronto within walking distance from St. James and waterfront campuses, like 10-minute walk. And this is a brand new residence where international and domestic students can live while they're studying. Regarding work in Canada, in addition to the practical training that you have throughout the program, applied education, international students on study permit, if you're part of the full-time program in college or university, you can work part-time up to 20 hours per week while you're studying, and you can work up to 40 hours per week if you're on a scheduled break. After graduation, you will be eligible for postgraduate work permit up to 3 years if the length of your program was from 8 months up to from 8 months or longer. So depending on how long you studied, you technically will be eligible for postgraduate work permit on successful completion of your college studies. We have career services on every campus. That center helps our student to look for a job, like to prepare their resume, to prepare for interviews, to assist with employment and everything. So in this case, it's important not just to wait until you graduate to start looking for a job. It's a process, it's an ongoing process while you're studying. And the sooner you start throughout your studies, the better the results are, and the more successful you will be in your job search. We have career fairs and organize activities and projects like for all the students to make sure they have their professional networking and connection established throughout the programs. We have all the support services like orientation, counseling, volunteering, workshops organized for all the students and specifically for international students to support them through their journey. We have athletic and recreation facilities on every campus, St. James, Waterfront, Casa Loma, so students have access to those facilities when it's not the quarantine, obviously. Peer Connect is student coaches, if you need moral support, if you need the informational support, if you need to make new friends while you're an international student, you can definitely join those Peer Connect groups and get help. So as I say, there's a lot of cultural and social associations that you can use throughout the program and while you're studying in college. The cost of the Canadian colleges, as Diego rightly mentioned, it's very affordable compared to other English-speaking destinations. In general, the rough estimate for an average fee for the college will be around 16,000 Canadian dollars per year, which is like 2 academic semesters. That's roughly 11,000 euros if we count in euros. And these fees will include tuition fees, medical insurance, and ancillary fees. The living expenses are extra and can be estimated from 12 to 15,000 Canadian dollars per year. So that's the amount, like tuition fees and living expenses, that will be expected from the embassy for the students to show on their as their financial means to be able to get a study permit to. I'll briefly touch, considering the timing, on language requirements. So we do have all the information on our website. Depending on the level of programs, students need specific level of English to be able to enter the program directly. And at this time, we accept online testing that is available through Duolingo, TOEFL IBT Special Home Edition, IELTS Indicator. So it's a great time right now. We know that a lot of centers are closed, testing centers are closed, but we provide a great flexibility with submitting right now the online applications with